Welcome to our latest Let's Cook Together offering. In celebration of diversity, we are supporting the Gender Sexuality Alliance, which is a worldwide organisation for which we have students have a club at our school. And part of the Quaker values is obviously respecting and supporting diversity. So what better way to celebrate than with cake? Not just any cake, we are going to celebrate with a 7-layer rainbow cake. So I'm going to show you how we can do it as simply as possible, and I'm really looking forward to showing you because this is an awesome cake to make in celebration of a wonderful cause. So we're going to need a big bowl and a set of scales. We've got a lot of work to do with this cake. The things that we can do to make it easier, the better. Put your bowl on, and what you're doing is zeroing it. This is the amount of fat we need for this, it's 500 grams. Now what you need is equal quantities of sugar to butter to flour to egg. So you basically, for this one, you need 500 grams pretty much of everything. If you're vegan, you can use a vegetable oil based one. So we need 500 grams of caster sugar. To do straight all in together, that's what we're going to do. 500 grams of self-raising flour. So again, zero your thing all straight into the pan. Yeah, 500. Now it needs 15 grams of baking powder, sorry. It's 1 teaspoon for every 75 grams of flour, and a teaspoon weighs about 5 grams. So if we just weigh 15 grams in, there we go. We need the eggs, and we need 10 of these. And you can just crack them straight in. And you're going to need to pause there because I've only got 7 eggs and I need 10. That's our 10 eggs in there. And we just need 3 tablespoons of milk. Now this, I think, helps with the texture and the moistness of the cake. If you're making this as a vegan cake, just use soya milk and use an egg replacer. So we get our ingredients, put it into a mixer, and we're going to start to mix this. We're just about finished with this, and you need to do a little bit of maths with this. So for 7 cakes, I need to weigh 285 grams of mixture into each bowl. And the reason why we're doing that is we're going to colour each bowl of mixture, but just remember to zero it with each bowl on. So there you go, that's about right. And I'll carry on and I'll do that for all 7 bowls. So we're now going to colour them. Okay, now we are using gel food dyes, and we're going to be using yellow, orange, violet, blue, pink and red. Okay, so those are the colours that we're going to be using. A little bit for a nice pastel colour and quite a lot for a vibrant one. Now I'm using, this is going to look really weird, but I'm using the handle of the spoon instead of the spoon. And the reason is that I only need a little bit and the spoon won't fit in there. So that's why I'm doing it that way round. And for orange, I'm just going to put a little titch of red in there with that yellow. And now we're going to start mixing. I know this sounds obvious, but you need tins the same size. You can get these from the pound shop. They're not expensive, and I think even Asda do some for £1. I've got 7 tins, got a round of greaseproof paper in the bottom of each one. And what I would say is put a teeny tiny bit of cake mix on the bottom, and that holds your piece of greaseproof in place. Again, put all the cake mixture in, scraping the bowl thoroughly. When you're spreading the mixture out, I don't know if you can see that, I'm kind of, be gentle with it. Just press it to the side, like so. Make sure it's all the way around, and then flatten it off. And we're going to do that for the rest of them. Now, I can fit 3 of these on the top row and 3 of these on the bottom row, which means, you know, the cooking time, they're going to take about 12 to 14 minutes, and I'll double check that. And then we'll just put the last one in. So we're only talking about half an hour's baking time in total. It's 160 degrees for a normal oven, or it's 180 degrees for a fan oven. You can ice these cakes with anything. There's loads of different things. You can buy the frosting if you want to. Butter icing. So you use 500 grams of unsalted or salted butter, whichever's your preference. You use a kilogram of icing sugar, and probably about 3 to 4 tablespoons of cream or milk. So we're going to put our butter in first. Again, we don't have to weigh this because we know that 250 or 500. And what I'd recommend is that you cut these up a little bit. It makes it easier on the food processor. Now I'm going to put the icing sugar in. So again, we've got 500 grams of butter, and we're just going to put in a kilo of icing sugar. If you're using a food mixer for this, set it off on a really low setting, because otherwise the icing sugar is going to go everywhere, which has happened to me in the past. Nice and gentle. We've just had our butter and our icing sugar in there. We are going to need to loosen it up a bit. Now you can use anything. I'm just using some double cream because we've got it lying around, but you can use milk, you can use flavourings, which reminds me, we need to put some of this in. This is just vanilla essence. Because we're using unsalted butter, we need to put salt in it. So I would put probably a good teaspoon in. About 3 tablespoons, but you want to watch it. I'll do that. Now, when we're talking about consistency, this is still too thick. You need it much, much softer, because we're going to need to pipe this later. So again, add more in. That is about the right consistency. And don't forget as well, when you start piping, this is going to loosen up because the warmth of your hands with the piping bag is going to make it so that it will melt slightly as well. So having it slightly thicker to start with will help you in the long run. We need the scales again, and we need some bowls. The quantities that I've given you, I have then weighed out 200 grams pots, and what we've ended up with is 7 pots of 200 grams and then a lovely big pot of white icing or cream icing left over. So I'm going to get colouring and I'm going to put it in piping bags. Now, to tell if a cake's cooked, first of all, I can smell cooked cake. It smells amazing. I've looked through the window of the oven without opening it, and that looks like cooked cake. And then the next way we check it is you get a sharp knife or a skewer and you poke the cake, and if it comes out completely clean, the cake is cooked, and then we'll take it out of the oven. So open the oven, let the hot air come out first, poke it, and as you can see, that's completely clean, so we'll be taking these out. Now, can you see how they're starting to come away from the side of the pan? That's great. We need to get these cooling, and we need to get them out of the tin. So what you do is get a knife and just very gently go around the edge of the pan, tilt it, and then put it like that. Right, we are ready to start layering it. So, cake board, drop of icing on there. The order in which this goes is pink, orange, yellow, green, blue, lilac, pink. So I've got them ready here, and I'm going to pull them over one at a time. So start with this one, make sure it's central. We want a thin layer of jam and a thin layer of the buttercream. What we need to do is put the jam on one side and then the buttercream on the other. So I'll show you how we're going to do that. So, buttercream, probably about that much icing, and then we'll put jam on the other side of this one. See? And then layer it that way. Now with your jam, mix it first so that there's no lumps. Right, so when you've got your jam, just again, a thin layer. And then we'll put that one on like that. What we're going to do is we're going to do that right the way up until we get to the top, and then I'll show you what we're going to do with the outside and the top. Right, so here's our beautifully stacked cake. Now we're going to roughly ice this now. Just put a little layer of icing on, and then I'm going to show you how we're going to finish it. And what I want to do is just secure this while I do this with some skewers. Can you see I'm starting off with a blob of icing on my spatula, and I'm just going up like that. I'm going to go and do that all the way around the cake. Right, let's go and put this in the blast chiller. So the idea is we're going to put our different colour icings round the cake. We've got a stand that turns, so I can, ooh. And this doesn't have to be beautiful, because our idea is that we're going to smooth it out so it's kind of a blur rainbow, if that makes any sense. You can see the different layers, and what we're going to do is just very gently, I'm just going to smooth it just like that. And that way we get a lovely rainbow effect. What we can do is take these out and pipe swirls on the top. What we're going to do is we're going to use our leftover icing, and we're just going to do little squizzles. So, for a massive celebration of diversity that brings our Quaker values to the absolute forefront of us living and being, here is a really big celebration cake.